YouTube. Okay. And hunt down an opening title, right? It doesn't matter, I'm going to use and assign an opening title sequence. Doesn't really matter here which one I'm going to do, because it's not about that, you know. I don't want to do 7. I'm trying to think of TV. I don't watch TV really. So let's use, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of here. Let's do, I don't know, I'm just trying to come up with one. Okay, let's go with this crime story again. Don't know it. It's almost better when you don't know it. All right, so what do we got here right now? Well, we've got music and we've got information that we can do, okay? Now, this is where one of the best things we could do here, like I kind of showed you guys with the kinetic type last week, YouTube to MP3 to get the audio track. I don't know which one of these are going to be the best. Let's just do that. Let's copy the URL from YouTube. Paste the URL, hit convert. Usually gives you all kinds of stupid pop-ups here, which we're just going to ignore. Block. And see if it gives us, we might have to find a different YouTube to MP3. Some of them work, some of them don't work better than others. It's even because we had yeah, and I don't want to wait that long. Let's try this one. Paste. Convert. These are really going on that fast. Here it goes. Please wait 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2. Download. Cancel. And you'll see it is in fact downloading right here. We go get that audio file, which downloaded to the download folder. Cut it out. Get back to my audio section here and paste it. Okay, and I'm just going to bridge this so it says crime story opening theme. And that's my MP3. Okay. Now I'm going to keep this open right now because we have, again, starring, directed by, opening title, all of the slate, all that stuff that we need to think of. But before I go into anything, I'm just going to go ahead and go new project here. Okay. And we can start with just a new composition. Okay, and I can call this my main composition or something like that. I'm going to go with the HDTV 1080 2997, which gives me the 1920 by 1080. I don't know exactly what the duration is, but you see the default is set to 30, and I'll hit OK. This now means I can import my audio to establish that link to my folder on the desktop. Title, audio, import, get that dragged down into it. So now I can see just the audio waveform here, and it starts to tell me now that the opening title is not 30 seconds, it's actually 0112. Well, I can always change that now. So it's 1 minute, 12 seconds. That doesn't mean I'm going to have to do a full 1 minute opening title. It just means that this is what I'm working with. And if I hit the space bar, I get my audio file loaded in. And I can use the audio file from the original. I'm doing that, a really cool thing, technique to kind of utilize now is I can come here to another new composition, and I can break this now into things like the first bit of information. We saw from the video there, the first bit of information we got is that there is a title called Crime Story. So when I can do this, I could call this new composition Crime Story, and I'll make it be the same length, right? And if I want to, just to get started here, I can temporarily, let's go ahead and activate Title Action Safe. And I'm just gonna start by just tossing in some basic elements of title. Not worrying about font really too much now. I'm just trying to say, okay, this is Crime Story. Composition, new. What's the next element after Crime Story? Okay, starring Dennis Farina. Starring Dennis. Okay. I can borrow this font here, copy over here, paste. Farina, double check it, Farina. So I'm just doing these little compositions as placeholders. Okay, what's next? Anthony Dennison. Okay, and it doesn't say starring, it just says Anthony Dennison. Composition new. Speak to say Anthony. Hit OK. Copy, go to the next composition, paste. Anthony Dennison. So all I'm doing is just nesting all these little secondary compositions here based on the information we need. D-E-N-I. D-E-N-I-S-O-N. Make sure you get the spelling right. You want to do that. Okay, what's next? William, see, got a little montage there. Now we got a William Smithrovich. Okay. Let's go composition new. Call this one William. Paste that text. Smithrovich. Right, Smithrovich. Let's double check. Smithrovich, yes, that's correct. Okay, we've got Steve Ryan, Bill Campbell, and Paul Butler. Now, these, when you have three names on there, let's see, we're going to call this one Steve, Bill, Paul. Steve, Bill, Paul. But when you have three names on the screen at the same time, it just means that they're lesser characters, they're not the main characters. And Steve, Bill, Paul. Their full names, well, Steve Ryan, Bill Campbell, those typically would be just smaller because they're less main characters. And starring Stephen Lang as David Abrams. Okay. Who was it in starring? How did they spell that? And starring. Okay, so I'll split this and call it and starring. Name this comp. Copy. Paste. And starring Stephen Lang. Stephen. Stephen Lang as David Abrams. Make sure these are all correct. Double check it. And starring Stephen, I guess it's Stephen Lang as David Abrams. It's kind of interesting. Look at here. You can even see where they capitalized the name Stephen Lang. You can even take some pointers from that. So, all right, what next? All right. So that is our game plan. That's the script, right? So all these names here, right, need to be put together. Now, if I want to, I could very well just grab in my main composition right here and right now, I could bring in order, rhyme story, right? What's next there? Starring Dennis is next. And then we have Anthony, bring that comp in order. And then we have William, that one down. Then we had Steve Paul, and then we have and starring. Okay, so these are each in order. Now, watch what I can do really quickly here. The general rule is with names, you want them to last so that you can actually say them 3 times. Okay, so that basically comes to about 1001, 1002, 1000, about 4. We'll just stay here at 5 seconds. Okay, so I have moved these guys to about 5-second long little comp, which means each of these individual ones only really need to be animated for that first 5 seconds. Okay? But we'll get to worrying about that in a moment, because we only need them to be the first 5 seconds. Then I can come and I can basically start to say, okay, well, at what point do I want the main title to start to appear? Well, that probably should be based upon the music starting right here. Okay, so I'll have the word crime story, last for about 5 seconds right there. I can even stretch it out if I want to. And then I can look along here and say, okay, well, at what point do I want the next little starring? Maybe I want to have it here where there's this next pop in, you know, the music. So now I'm just figuring out at what point do I want these guys to appear. Because again, even though we've got a super long length of audio to use, we don't need to use it all. Like I said, we don't need to have it. Let's do that. Maybe I'll have it here, close to 40, maybe at this marker right here where the audio takes a pop right there. And the last clip, maybe I'll have it come right here. And then whether I keep all this or I trim off all that audio. So right now it's just a simple slideshow kind of reveal of this.
Watching all the flames go by, some live out inside. I wonder why I don't walk away.
Okay. Now, because this is going a little bit longer than I really need to, I don't need it to be this long. Maybe what I'll do here with this audio is just put a key for my audio level, give it a few seconds to drift, and then take my audio volume down to 0, have it drift off there at the very end, just like that. And now, what this time is here, which is 59:02, will be the end of my piece here. So instead of 1:12, I'll make it, so I'm just shortening it up just a bit to being an actual, just almost a full minute here, and have it drift off. So at the very end, see? All right. So I got my main comp, I got my individual components, and ready to, now how do I want these texts to come in? How do I want these fonts? How do I want my main slate to appear? Okay, my main title. And, choose, how it's going to animate in or animate out. So maybe I'll play around here. Crime Story, let's see here. Remember, we also have access to all the Adobe fonts. Let's see. Like I said, I'm not used to these fonts because this is not my machine. I kind of like that. It's kind of like a retro comic book feel to it all. Okay. And maybe I'll play around with how I want this to appear. Do I want it to animate in? Remember, we talked about these different effects presets, animation presets for text, where I can animate in, animate out. Maybe what I want to do here, remember, I'm only dealing with the 5 seconds here of animating in, animate out. So maybe I want to take this composition settings and knock it down to being a much shorter clip. I'll say 5 seconds. Okay. And let's see, how do I want this to animate in and animate out? It's just like, how do I want it to reveal itself? Do I want it to assemble? Do I want it to, animate in like a typewriter maybe? Maybe, why not? Let's do that. Let's go to animate in. And I'm going to have this animate in as a typewriter at the very beginning. Okay. And you see now it will automatically give me keys under the text animator, see, range selector, which means it's going to type that out. Now you see the problem here is that it's typing it out, but it's taking almost 2.5 seconds to do that. So maybe I want that to only last a second in the type. So it animates on for just a second. Now let's see, is that enough time in 5 seconds to read it 3 times? Crime Story, Crime Story, Crime Story. Absolutely. Okay. So now I need to think about how do I want it to leave the screen or animate off. Okay, I'm gonna go to this blur, and I'm gonna go with evaporate. I need to move my marker here when I drag this on, so I have enough time to see the new animator that just got added called evaporate range selector. And you see it gave me a key here and an ending key. Well, I want that to end at 5. Maybe I want this to play around so it takes a second to evaporate. So now I've animated my text in and then off. Right? Which means if I go to my main comp, you're going to see it has updated. Let's just I like that as my main title slate. We can play around with this, believe it or not. We can go 3D layers, add reflection. I'll talk about that when we get into the 3D element of all. There's lots of tutorials how you can make this opening title element here much more impactful. Just kind of keeping it simple first though. Okay, now let's go to our next part here. Now again, we're looking at the full length comp. So let's go ahead and bring that down to about 5 seconds. Now that I know that timing works for 5. Okay. Okay. Now, how do I want this to appear? And I kind of don't like that big, tragic, bold font. You know, I want to keep this kind of clean. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not familiar with a lot of these fancy fonts they put on here. Let's see. Kind of like that. It's a little thin. So again, this is just your using of your skill sets there with typography. Just because I have all these, kind of like that. I kind of like that actually. Okay? It's kind of simplistic, but it looks good against the dark. Okay. What I'm going to do here is go with upper and lower case. 80, and make the names here 120, and the font is called SW Link. All right. Now that means I can do that now, and I can come here and '20 SW Link. That. You don't want to overkill on your fonts. Just because you have every font and every color doesn't mean you use them. General rule is light on dark, dark on light. Now here I've got an issue where this is a little too large. Okay. Where are we at now? So this is actually not 120. This is, I believe that's 100. I want these to all kind of have same size font. I can leave Dennis Farina there because he's the main guy. So you, like, there we go. Now it looks like names should be uppercase. Oops, these are all the actual actors' names are all uppercase based on the style. Okay. That one's uppercase, that one's uppercase. Starring is lowercase, name's uppercase. Crime Story was all uppercase. All right. So now I got a matching, right? The composition settings, make sure they're knocked down. That says 10 minutes. That's supposed to be 5 seconds. Okay. Composition setting, 5 seconds. For title, for text to be on screen. So you see, I'm not doing a whole bunch of work right now. I'm just organizing this all so that it's always at a level of completion. If you spend too much time on just one thing, you might spend, that one might be awesome, but you're never finished. Always work in a system where you're getting everything done. I did this with the kinetic type when I said, hey, just start with just basic text. Okay. Now, I'm not worried right now about where these things are going, right? I'm just worried about how the timing of them appearing and disappearing. And let's go with this one here, starring Dennis Farina. Now, how do I want this to animate in or animate out, okay? Well, this might be an issue of, do I want it to fade in and fade out? Do I want it to have a glitch? Do I want to use another one of these, effect presets for animate in? Do I want to use the blurs? Maybe I want to use, let's just go with something simple here. Let's see, what's the transporter do? There. It's a very common title element that you see in a lot of TV shows, right? Trying to think of what was the one that was the Doctor series or Forensic Science or something like that. With aliens, I can't. All right, so this is using this transport animator with a start and finish. Again, let me go ahead and give it an absolute start and end. Then I can come to the end here and watch this. I'm just going to highlight this key, Control-C to copy it, Control-V to paste it, and I've pasted it there. You can go to the end here, take this initial key here, copy and paste it at the end. So that now I've got this kind of animate, fade in and out. Now watch how cool this is, okay? I'm going to take and highlight this animator, and copy it, and now I'm going to take it, go to the beginning here, and paste it right onto the next slate. Go to William here, go to the beginning, paste it, Command V. Go here, go to the beginning, Command V. Go with this comp, go to the beginning, Command V. So that now all those are animating on the screen.
planes go by. Somewhere up in the sky, I wonder.
All right, so you see how they're all set up now, animated in. Go ahead and hit Control S. Let's go ahead and find our opening title folder, find the composition of projects, and go ahead and temporarily say last name, title. Okay, and save that as an After Effects project right now. Because right now I've got, and I don't really care for this right now, this font, but I'm gonna live with it right now. Okay, so now we need to fill this with graphics. Now I could use motion-based graphics, so I could go on to a Google search, for example, and I don't really need this anymore because I know what's basically there. Let's go here, and like I say, I could use like silhouettes, like crime, clip art, right? And find, motion graphics, fingerprints, crime scene tape, just imagery that represents, a crime drama. Or I could find, detective clip art, and and animate this, kind of like the way I showed you how to animate that dog on the scooter. I could, find symbolism for crime drama, investigation, stuff like that. Or I could go, and so I could do it in an animated kind of 2D graphic, motion graphic style of filling in the graphics. Or we can slide on over here to the video blocks I showed you before and play around with, footage and themes that are, crime, and start to, see, come here and download. What version do I want? I don't need the high quality. I can just say HTML4, download that one. How about some slow motion, boots walking here? Why not? Let's do that. Download. Did I get logged out here? Hold on a second. Something tells me I may have gotten. Let's look at downloads. Yeah, I think I may have gotten logged out. Hold on a second. Let's go back to load video blocks back in. Video blocks is kind of infamous of, see, it says get unlimited access, but I must have gotten logged out of my library. Hold on a second. Online library, online library. All resources. I type footage, video blocks, and I'm automatically logged in. So I just got timed out, I guess. Let's see here. Time in your videos. I don't know why you start that one. Let's see. There we go. It's telling me to wait. That's my problem. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, there we go. Now I've got it. Just took a while to load. All right, so you can come here, we can start downloading our library of montages. Content. I think I just was a little impatient, it's just taking a while to download these. But then you want to just download your content. There you go, see now it's coming. So whatever the theme of the show was, so it says it's true crime, right? Or crime drama, whatever, so it's detectives, it's, criminals, it's cell blocks, it's grimy city, so again, city at night, alleyways, time lapses, all this cool kind of. And what I'm looking here, because I know I'm using the white, thin white text, I'm trying to find images that have a lot of darkness to them. Because that kind of fits the theme of the whole true crime. If it was daylight, I would want to use black text over top of light imagery. Just some boots walking, whatever, right? And I'm only going to use about a few seconds of each of these clips. And I can edit and time them to switch the picture based upon the music. City, night, let's see. What else? Police, lights. This one looks good here. So there's a little bit of a experiment here in editing and audio techniques. Okay, let's go with this. Interrogation. There it goes. It's loading. And I don't know what else. Think of the themes of crime, rats. Especially if I can find a city rat, which I may not be able to find a city rat. How about instead of rat, let's say alley. These dark alleys. Which, again, kind of like that one there. And again, I'm looking for sections of darkness in these videos to be able to move and animate my name as it appears on screen. Mist, steam, coffins, ambulance, anything that deals with that theme of crime. And especially if it's kind of blurred out like this, it looks really good because it'll offer a clean background. There. Let's see what else could do with crime. Gun. For dark. Yeah, how about this gun right here? Sure. All right. I probably have enough to start playing with here. And download that one. So you see, I'm just gathering a bunch of resources here. These are all my vids, and we cut them out of the download folder. find my opening title and put them in my videos folder, right? I want them there. All right, now back to our After Effects file. And this is where we can have fun because I've got them all here. I can load them all in. Now, using the main file here is now going to be finding, okay, well, what is the first initial shot? You know, what is the first one I want to see here? Maybe I want to see a crime scene first, right? And because that's our initial scene, let's open up our audio. You can see the music basically starts right about here. So what I'll do is I will simply grab our vid, opacity, and then send the opacity down to 0. So I'm doing a fade up or a dip from black. Now I can edit that using the audio underneath of it, right, to control the length of my clip. Let's find another clip here to put. Okay. Now, some of these, it says has audio. Make sure we don't use the audio. Okay, so I'm going to use this little section of this. And this is also where we can control whether or not we want, you know, a fade, like a dip fade or opacity shift, or do we want just a jump cut? Okay, so now that next video clip here of this driving, I'm going to have it last until about here. Oh, I can key the opacity down there. Go back a little bit in time. Have it come up, and you see that little clip only needs to last that amount of time. Right? And then it's just an issue, okay, what's the next piece of video to use? Okay, so that clip up. And how long do I want this piece of video to last now? Okay, maybe I'll have it last till here. Maybe now to this one will just be a jump cut instead of an opacity cut. And my next clip has audio as well. Let's remove that. This will be a jump cut to this one. Now it is kind of jump cutting right there in the middle of the title, which is kind of distracting. Go ahead and find a better spot in my audio. About there. That happens. So this one needs to last until there. Okay. And this lasts long enough, so you see to that little peak in audio there. And maybe this piece here, I'll use my fade audio technique or fade opacity technique. So it only has to last. So key the opacity to a transition, a dissolve, or cross dissolve, it's often called. Okay, let's have this clip last for the next name. this last for the length. Again, I'm looking for pops in the audio to control when the pages, basically the image will turn or change. I'm doing some dissolves, I'm doing some jump cuts. Let's go ahead and put that fingerprint in. Okay. I don't have that fingerprint. Just to about, there's a pop in the, right there's a pop in there. In the audio. And let's see now, police D. And trying to see if I've used this one I've used yet. This one the last. Save out to there. And walking away. About there. Opacity. Back a few frames. And be full opacity there. And let's see, one more video clip should do it. Fingerprint driving. Yes, crime. MP3. MC tape. Close up. Back toward, did I use this one? No. All right, so this back door will be the last clip. Which I'll have literally last here to the end to where I can have it fade and dip to black. Again, dip to black is just keep opacity at 100 at the end and have it fade to 0. So this is what we end up getting. Now I could go through this and now I can start to see, when the titles come in, like that works pretty good because it's nice, it's centered, it's over the dark. But what about some of these others? Like this one doesn't really work that well, but I could come in here and play around with this. Like one of the reasons why it's too crisp, let's toss a Gaussian blur onto it. Right? So it's not there, or even better yet, I can take the Anthony section here and maybe have it appear up here instead. See? Or I could take the Dennis Farina and have it appear down below. So I can take these individual. Here's another one. This would work so much better if it was, I don't know, off screen, or maybe, tell you what, which one is that? That's William. See, I can take this. Say, I want it here, position, scale. And then I could say, add an animate off screen even. Just get those keys moved there. So now this one William is going to come in slightly different at the bottom. You can see here how that now is easier to read, see? So even this guy, maybe I want this to be over here. So it's surrounded by more dark. Maybe I want this one to be over there. Now what I don't like here is this fingerprint one. I'm not really keen on this fingerprint. So watch what I can do though. Okay, let's see. I don't know what I'm looking for here. Trying to find something here that deals with interesting bugs. Let's do police lights maybe. Okay. Like something, just a pattern like this is what I'm looking for. See? Just like a pattern. I didn't download it. All right. Grab it, desktop, folder it, video. And this is police lights out. So what I'm going to do is just going to drag this one in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap this with our fingerprint one. So that they're overlapping each other. But then I can play around with how that appears using a blending mode, like an overlay. See, so I've got the fingerprints, but I've just got a little more interesting of a version there. See? Overlay, multiply, all these blending modes like we typically see inside of Photoshop. Now, I've got lots of content here as far as I've got my timing. Still not too keen on that font. You know, it's still a little boring to me. Like I said, if you need to remember in your font library here, you can always go and get and load more fonts into your computer by simply going into the font section and loading them into your Adobe account. Even that just looks better. I could play around with drop shadows. I could play around with, you know, more dynamic elements here. But okay, we've got this kind of done where, you know, we've got it tightened up. We've got the video. We've got the audio synced. But watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and nest this again. So this was the main comp, okay? And I'm gonna now make one, I'll call it final comp. And have it be the full proper length, which was, I don't know what that was, it was 55. I know it says actually one full minute. And now I'm gonna take and move my final, or my main comp into final comp, so that now it is nested and it is one, right? It is one piece, just a little bit, just minimize that just a little bit, okay. Okay, so it's just one layer now. And now I can do things like, one of the problems I'm having here is that these videos all came from different sources. So one of the problems is they don't color grade together. They don't look like they belong together. Well, what I can do here is I can actually do a color correction of like a Lumetri color, okay? And this allows me to make color adjustments to the entire thing by, bringing in, different types, playing around with exposure, see? Playing around with contrast, white, black, there's creative elements here. So I can go with different looks, like, here's one called Blue Steel. And you see how that now the color, all of the picture, all the videos with that blue steel filter, which makes them kind of fit together a little bit better. Okay? And again, you can come in, that's Blue Steel. There's tons of here. There's a film noir. There's monochrome Kodak, which is just grayscale, right? Black and white kind of feel to it all. So maybe big minus blue. So now everything kind of has a color grade feel to it all. So you can come back to curves. And again, I'm doing this to all of it. So all at once to make it look like they belong together a little bit more. We could also, now that we've done this, apply some other additional filters, like maybe right about here, word crime story. Okay, maybe I want to do an effect here. Like there's generates, things like light bursts and light rays or light sweeps. See? And I can come here and control this, see? Right here. So let's go find this. Minimize my Lumetri color here. I've got this all kind of controlled. There. See, so here's my light rays. I can basically key the center, key the intensity, key the radius, go back a few frames and turn that intensity to 0. Come to right before the point of where the crime story is, and I can drag this across here to kind of say, hey, read this. And then go a frame ahead and tell it to be, again, intensity of 0. So I've just applied this little light burst to kind of read that. It's almost to say, hey, read this title. Okay? And I could come in here and I could do these as well. I could add all still animated elements and so on in here to kind of get it to work for me to a point where, all right, so let's see what this looks like now in the final comp. keep going here and just adding more and more, especially like I said, now that I'm playing around with just a single nested comp here. There's other things we can add in here besides, like I said, just video and edits. We can come in here and let's see if this cool. Okay. So, you know, there's images that we can load for textures and stuff like that. So crime scene, okay? And look at images that represent these crime scenes, you know, because maybe it's a, like I said, a body outline or old photos or something like that. You know, blood splatter and, you know, or even like I said before, even like fingerprints or forensic elements. That even using, you know, texture elements like this, like, well, let's use a fingerprint here. Just like I used the, right? So I could even use these as a blending mode over top of the video to make it kind of create a more depth and texture elements to it all. But again, I don't want to go overboard and get overkill this week because we're going to talk about this next week. So in a nutshell, I already have it. I've got an opening title using video-based montage. If I wanted to, I could have used, again, animated characters and cut out little 2D elements from Photoshop or an Illustrator to actually do the same thing. So all I need to do now is encode it and render it out to the proper size resolution. Well, that is in the File and Export and Add to Adobe Media Encoder queue. Remember, this is how the After Effects, I do not want After Effects files. After Effects files will be empty because everything is linked into After Effects. Nothing is embedded. So when students send me an After Effects file without the content, it basically says this file is empty. You know, it's missing source files. So this is why I don't want the After Effects file. I want the video file. So that's why we send it off to the media encoder. You'll see it'll pop up right here in a second that it's basically making that dynamic connection. There it is right there. It is my final comp that I sent here. And then we just have to go through a series of checking. First thing is, click on the first option here, because if you're on a Mac, that actually will say MOV. If you're on a PC, that typically says AVI. It usually is whatever was the last format you did. Okay, now I can come over here in this box, okay, and I can scrub through this to make sure everything looks good, that there's not a bunch of extra time at the end of it or anything. Format, we want H.264. Preset, you typically want to match the source. But you see there's other high quality HD. See, there's an high quality HD 1080 as well. I could use that. Okay, that works just as well. Output name. This is where we need to give it the proper name and the proper location. So I'm going to put it in my opening title folder, and you should call it your last name, not the word last name, your last name, right? Opening title, hit save. Okay, I can hit OK here, but nothing happens, see, not currently encoded until we hit the green Go button in the upper right-hand corner of the media encoder. This now will show us our progress of what we're doing, and we can verify again, it's H.264, high quality, 1920 1080. Once that is all done, it is going to be an H.264 MP4. Then you can upload it to the actual file, the assignment file, I should say, right here. You can click on it, and you can add to it. Now, I'm in faculty mode, which is why it looks like this. Change this right back here. So we go into the assignment folder, and you just upload it here. You could also do this, I believe, going to your assignment folders. See, and you can submit it this way as well. Okay. Look at the rubric, add a file, say something about it if you want to, and submit. Now this file, because again, that's why we do an H.264 MP4s, because it's a codec that has a lossy quality to it, which is very quick for streaming. So if we're doing a 1-minute opening title, our file size might be something like 20 or maybe 100 megabytes, but we don't want to get into the gigabytes. That's why we don't do an uncompressed or 4K or anything like that. That's not important. Keep it simple. Just let this finish up a little bit more here. It's taking a little longer than a small little project would. If you're ever looking for more inspiration, while it's going here, I was going to talk about